Hi, I'm Jim Winkler. Today I want to talk about different terms in the leather furniture industry. You hear terms like full top grain leather, split leather, nubuck, biecast, leather match. What does all that really mean? I've got a full cowhide here I brought with me. These run about 50 square feet. This hide's already been tanned and finished and it's ready for upholstery. The term top grain you might hear a lot when you're out shopping. Top grain leather is the outer portion of the hide of the cow where the hair was. This is the thickness of the hide after it's been separated. A cowhide is about 3 times as thick as this when it comes off the cow. And they take the hides in the tannery, they run them through machines that pull the hides in, and there's a cylindrical blade that actually splits the hide thickness-wise, kind of like veneering a log. The outer portion where the hair was is the top grain. The cuts below is called split leather. Sometimes you can get 2 to 3 cuts of leather out of a complete hide. This top portion is about 1 millimeter or 1.1 millimeter thick, about 3/16 of an inch. It's upholstery weight leather, so it's easier to put on the furniture and upholster it. There's a term called full top grain, which you might not have heard of very much. And there's a difference between top grain and full top grain. Full top grain is also the top grain of the hide, but it's the uncorrected portion of this. In the tannery, leather has some alterations done to the surface of the grain of the hide. They buff it, they'll sand it, emboss it, plate it. These are some of the things that changes the cell structure of the leather. If none of those things are done in the tannery, it's considered full top grain. So it has to be the uncorrected outer grain of a top grain hide. That's the most durable and longest lasting leather you'll find. Only about 5 to 7% of all the hides in the world are considered full top grain hides. They're a lot more expensive raw material. The selection below that is top grain. It's still the outer grain again, but there's some mechanical alterations been done to the surface of the hide. Those fall in the top 10 to 12% of the hides in the world, top grain. Now the cut below is split. And split leather looks like this. It's suede, has kind of a nappy, velvety feel to it. That's that second and sometimes third cut below the top grain. Split is a lot weaker cell structure than top grain. Now it is used sometimes in the furniture industry on the outside arms or outside back of a piece of furniture. It's not recommended in the seating areas. It's not as strong, it's weaker, it doesn't hold a finish that well when you sit on it every day. The next term I want to talk about is called nubuck. Nubuck, suede, these are terms that have been around for a while. Nubuck is basically the reverse of the hide, the suede side. It's usually the split, and they'll buff it and create a velvety nap. Sometimes it can be the top grain of the hide, where they sand the surface down to create the nap also, where they get this on the surface. You don't see nubuck too much. Nubuck is not as durable, tends to absorb oils, and it can absorb liquids to some degree. It can be treated for that, but it'll darken over the years, so it's not the best in the family room. The next type of leather I want to talk about is called biecast. Biecast is also a split leather. It's the cut below the top grain, but there's a plastic or a PVC coat put on surface of the split leather. It's a very shiny, has a glazed appearance to it. Biecast has a richness, and you don't see it too much in the furniture industry anymore. About 5, 6, 7 years ago, it was pretty popular. Bonded leather. Bonded leather really is not leather at all. It's a man-made material. These are some examples of bonded leather. Bonded leather is ground up leather hides, and bonded leather has approximately 10 to maybe 25%, depending on the supplier, of actually ground up leather, but it's used as a backing of the material. The top part is basically polyurethane, which is a plastic, and they seal these two together to create kind of a leather feel, but it's really got a plastic top. So it's really a confusing term because it's really not leather at all. It's just a man-made material with a little leather ground up in the back. This is also used in the furniture industry, but is not very durable, and we don't recommend it here at leather shops. It can be used in an outside arm or an outside back in place of, say, PVC, because it's a little more durable. Leather match. Leather match is a top grain leather in the seating areas with a matching vinyl in the non-touch areas. So the outside arms, outside back, sometimes in between the seat cushions, vinyl is used there with the top grain leather in all the wear areas. Kind of like they do in automobiles, where there is a leather appointed areas. All the seating surfaces are leather, and then they use a matching vinyl in the non-touch areas. Although in a car they use more of a commercial grade vinyl, which is a lot stronger than generally what you find in upholstery furniture. Another term, PVC or PU, polyurethane. PVC is just a plastic. It's a matching product that's used with leather, or it's like this material, like bonded leather, but it's a plastic with a fabric backing. They can also stamp or emboss any type of grain structure on this to make it look or emulate leather to some degree, but it's not leather. So those are basically the terms. Full top grain leather is the outer grain of the hide, uncorrected. Top grain is the outside of the hide, but there are some alterations mechanically done to that at the tannery level that alters the surface of the grain. If they do that, it becomes top grain. Split leather is the cut below the surface of the top grain. There's 2 and sometimes 3 cuts. Good example of that again is chamois cloth, or they use it in the belting industry or for shoe soles, split leather sometimes. Nubuck or suede is the split of the hide that is a nap, and or sometimes the top grain buffed down to create a velvety nap like this. Bicast is a split leather with a plastic coating put on top. Bonded is a man-made material, polyurethane with a leather backing, and it's really not leather. Leather match, top grain leather, matching vinyl in the sides, back, sometimes in between the seat cushions on furniture. That's leather match. And PVC or polyurethane is just a plastic man-made material, generally with a fabric backing instead of leather here.